So this is my watermelon pinata. Well, one of them. This is the one that I'm doing with crepe paper. I'm going to be doing, I have another two that I've done. This is the big one. And it was the one that was kind of lumpy and stuff, so it's easier to hide lumpiness with crepe paper than paint. It's not gonna, it's still gonna be lumpy. Whereas this, it's, yeah, it looks lumpy, but it's the nature of crepe paper anyway. It's gonna look lumpy. So it doesn't really matter. Now, one thing to keep in mind with melons, so this is the same as like watermelon, pumpkin, whatever, like squash,
honeydew melons,
whatever, they grow on the ground. If they don't grow on the ground, if they're like a mini pumpkin that you've grown on a trellis or a gourd or something, then that's a little bit different. But if they're growing on the ground, they will not be perfect green and yellow stripes everywhere, because they grow on the ground and then underneath it's going to be lighter. So there's going to be more yellow down here than up here. And so you have to account for that when you're doing your pinata too. Well, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. But there's, like, I've thought about how, well, because I don't like the look of this as much, right? And so I think, well, maybe I should just make believe that it's perfect all the way around.
It's better to be realistic. You know, I'd never noticed that about watermelon.
Oh, really?
How did you find out about it? Did you just notice it yourself?
You grow melons? I don't know how I have no idea when I noticed it. I probably noticed it when I was little and went, why is this, just eating it? But
so basically what you're saying, watermelons get a suntan.
It grew this way. It grew like this.
Yeah, they get a suntan, only it's a sun green. There we go.
Yeah, so no sun here, yellow bum. So, or tummy. Whatever way you want to look at it. Yeah. So,
or back. Just a line on his back.
Okay. So anyway, if your watermelon is somehow you grow it up and the sun can get to it, or light, not necessarily direct sun on, but if the light can get to it, like say, I've thought about it because I don't like the yellow in the bottom, and I thought, well, could I have a greenhouse and have a hammock that grows, that is hung right under and then the melons are supported, even though they're really heavy, they'll just weigh down a little bit and sit in the hammock and there they grow, and then you wouldn't have yellow bottom. But I don't know how important that is. It's they still taste the same, but anyway, so if you're going to be doing your watermelon, if you want to be accurate, it should be yellower on the bottom. So you look at where your melon sits, like this guy, he sits on the ground like so, and you can see where his yellow patch is. So you kind of have to copy that, and this lighter green is going to stay lighter green than up here. So it's going to be like a yellow, whitish, like a light yellow with a chartreuse-ish kind of green, like just a very light green on the bottom. So that's what's going to happen with that guy. And then with I'm going to paint one of them to show you what the painted one looks like. And then what I want to do with these is I want to have each melon being the outside of it decorated differently, but they'll all be watermelons. And so you'll see some different ideas of what you can do, how you can decorate your pinata. So it doesn't have to be crepe paper every time, and you certainly don't have to use crepe paper this way. I just like to. But I can show you another way to use it. It's easy. Anyway, I can show you a few different ways. But, yeah. See if you like the other ones too. And I've already finished doing the paper on that wild pansy. So, I think I'll probably start decorating that one tomorrow morning. And I've been doing a lot of things that instead of reading and instead of hiking. Pinatas. I've been doing a lot of pinatas and watching things like this. Which this is heavy watermelon, even though it's not very big. This one's a lot bigger. But this one's a lot lighter because it's candy. It's not watermelon. So, Pet Cemetery. This was so scary. It
takes a lot to spook you anymore. When we first started going, you were very jumpy. You were watching.
Was I? Huh. That can't possibly be. When James and I started dating, I was on anti-anxiety. How could I be jumpy?
You were more than you are now.
Weird.
Anytime there was a loud noise, you'd jump. And you'd be saying, watch this part for me. You don't do that much anymore.
Really?
Maybe that's because I'm sleeping.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure.
You're sleeping through it.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway, when I was 10, I read Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. And this was the book that I preferred out of his books. I found it descriptive. The parts where of walking over the branches to get to the Micmac burial ground, which I don't even think it was called a Micmac burial ground in here, in this movie. Maybe that's now politically incorrect or something? I don't know.
Well, they spell Micmac differently.
Huh.
It's like with a Q in it and stuff like that. Maybe an apostrophe.
But I don't even recall them saying Micmac in here. I don't think they said anything about it.
Well, it might be politically incorrect to say Micmac. Yeah.
Huh.
You might have to kind of go stuff like that. I understand.
I don't know, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
I don't mean to be disrespectful or stuff like that. Minor linguistics, but it's when you can get too politically. I'm part Native American. You can get too politically correct about what words in other languages are for different people. And you remember when I was a kid, I was going, "Oh man, you can't say Cambodia. You got to say Kampuchea." So far as I know, it's an attempt to render the same word. You got people going around saying, like pronouncing things like it's ridiculous because you still can't. If you're not raised on a language, you're not going to be able to pronounce it correctly. So just say Micmac. Say it with respect, and that should do it. What can I say?
I don't know. But anyway.
But, what does, I hate to think, like Germans call themselves Deutsch. We don't call them Deutsch. We call them Germans. And anyone who's in Germany gets sensitive about that, I'm part German, is an idiot. The French call them Allemand. I think the Italians call it Alemania, so they kind of got it together there. But that's not what the Germans call themselves. The Russians call them Niemiecki. Well, that's not German. You see what I'm saying? So they got all sorts of different names around them. And if they're going to get all high up, like it's easy to say to Germans, well, you'd better accept, what I'm saying? Because the Germans they whip people, but they're now whipping boys and stuff like that. But if they get upset about that, that's their problem. But frankly, that applies, unless something's said with disrespect, it applies to any traditional cultural thing that one group has for another. Unless it's like really, really offensive,
And I know my green and my watermelon's not the right green. I can see that. But that's what I had available.
It looks right when the watermelon's not next to it. That's all I can say.
It looks okay to you? You thought it looked like a pickle before. Now you're seeing watermelon more?
It looks more like a watermelon. It was only in this. I wasn't.
Doesn't matter.
I wasn't meaning to diss it. I don't think there was any yellow on it. at that point in time? It's just green at that point in time. Did you start with the green?
No, I think I started with the yellow.
Okay, I don't know why I said that. It kind of looked like a pickle. So. Well, I could see that there were it was kind of like not symmetrical and things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway.
Pickles have kind of got these. They don't look symmetrical. They kind of.
They're bumpy.
Bumpy. Yeah, so.
Anyway, so.
I think I hadn't realized you hadn't told me what it was supposed to be. I was guessing what it was. Isn't that what happened?
That should be fine, though. I mean, it should still look like a watermelon, whether you've.
Anyway, it looks the green never
doesn't matter.
See, when you're seeing different color,
you know
light
what?
situations.
It can be a pickle. I don't care. If you like it as a pickle, it can be a pickle.
I like it as a pickle too. So.
Well, the other pinata that I'm doing now of the.
Though I'm impressed that you're trying to get it, make it more yellow on the one side. That's very impressive.
The other one that's supposed to be wild pansy or violet or Johnny Jump Up, another name for it. James thought it looked like a little kid in a snowsuit. And now that I've put the cardboard on and put it in, and incidentally, if you're wanting to just make it a paper craft, like I used hot glue to put the cardboard on because it really holds it. But you don't have to. You don't have to glue it in place at all before you start laying down the paper. The paper will glue it in place. So you don't have to glue the cardboard in place. You could just paper it in and it'll stick it. Once it dries, it's stuck there. So, I mean, if you're interested in that, I'm fine using hot glue. I don't care. But you might be really picky about it and say, no, I only want it to be paper and flour and water to make it more. Maybe compostable. Because, I mean, if I compost that sucker, then there's hot glue in there that's not going to compost. So, maybe that's important to you. And there you go. Now you have an option. But, anyway, back to Pet Sematary. Excellent movie. Very well done. I never, ever would have expected John Lithgow could play the role that he was playing in this. He's not who I picture at all. He did a great job. He's a good actor, and I always enjoy seeing him. But
even when he was on TV.
And he had a very, very, very different energy in this, so he did a great job. But at the same time, I picture card playing, beer drinking, country and western kind of old man.
Woody Harrelson.
You know what? If Woody Harrelson was about 80, yeah.
Oh, older than that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, John Lithgow's quite a bit older.
Well, I don't know if he's that old though, is he?
Well, he just looks that way because he's lost a lot of hair. But he'd be at least my age, I'd say. He was doing movies in the 70s.
How old is Woody Harrelson?
Well, he's missing some hair too, isn't he?
He is, but he doesn't seem.
Well, let me put it this way: he is the son.
He has to be older than
of
me.
someone who confessed to killing John F. Kennedy back in the day. Mm-hmm. That guy was a convicted killer, amazingly enough, already. Mm-hmm. And then he was going around, and I'm very suspicious of his confession, but I don't know who paid him to say it. But
they changed the story for this, I should say. It's not. They didn't stay true to the book. But scarier, maybe, even than the book. So scary, very well put together. I don't know why they had to have the family all gonna be together as this. Oh, I was just giving away that.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, I'm such a bad reviewer. I don't know that I like the way they changed the ending. I'll just say that.
Can you put a spoiler alert when you put this on the blog?
I'll just write that
Yeah.
accidentally gave
There we
it
go.
away.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, I guess, you know what, I was just going to spoil the book for you. There we go. I'm really too tired to be
Yeah.
doing this. I think that's,
Well, when you're this tired, you should just script everything, right? Just read it in a monotone.
the book is worth reading. And I'm not going to talk
She doesn't
about it
say that
anymore
about every
because,
Stephen King book.
no.
Yeah,
And I shouldn't have been reading it when I was 10.
maybe not.
That was a bad idea. I didn't sleep very well when I was 10. I was awake with nightmares.
Yeah.
I was scared of everything.
I'd
I
read
read
sci-fi
Stephen King.
and I'd get horrified by sci-fi when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
You got really sharp imagination. If you can read sufficiently well, things are way more intense when you're
I was a very good reader.
Must have been.
Yeah. Not a good sleeper. Wasn't sleeping very
You were
much.
more precocious than
Really
me.
scared.
Is that a big, long, thick novel? Like
All of
600
his
pages.
are
There we go.
pretty long.
That was more
So-
ambitious. Me, back then, I started reading Hardy Boy books when I was 8.
You know, I tried reading, because I realized, I suppose, that a girl my age should be reading Nancy Drew. And so I got a bunch of Nancy Drew books from garage sales. And I just found them boring as can be. And I couldn't stand the way they were using each book as a commercial for another
yeah.
book. I couldn't stand it. It was like, that's it. I'm now, what, am I supposed to get this other book so that I know what they're talking about
sharp.
here?
Because
I
I was
didn't
going,
like it at all.
I've got to get that next book.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And there were there'd be as many Nancy Drew books or more as the Hardy Boy books,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
And they're advertising it right to the beginning of the series, which is freaky. When I finally discovered, I was reading something called The Figure in Hiding, and these guys, the Hardy Boys, were jumping onto the running board of a car. I'm going, they don't have running boards anymore. I liked cars back then. Now I care less, but I'm going, that's not right. This is a real old story. And that story would have dated to about 1935. And there would have been running boards in the cars then. And then I was going, when did they start writing that? Because that wasn't the first one in the series. It was about a dozen or so in. And then I found, I just figured one had been written a year. I started looking at the copyright thing. But the first 3, I think, were all written in 1 year. But after that, it was pretty well every year they put one out. It's amazing scam, really. So you got a Canadian to ghostwrite. So, what was his name? Not Brian McFarlane. Something McFarlane. Leslie McFarlane. He was an alcoholic. He was a woman out of the University of Lethbridge. One of the things she specializes in the history department. She specializes in Leslie McFarlane. So, but I knew some things that she didn't know because I'd actually read the books. You know what I'm saying? I was telling her, Leslie McFarlane got annoyed with him a couple of times. I'm not sure exactly what was involved, but what he did was he wrote the best-selling surrealistic novels in the history of the world. Because they're Hardy Boy books, and one was called The Secret Warning, and the other one was called The Disappearing Floor. And which one? The Disappearing Floor is awesome. It's like the best. Well, I'm exaggerating, but it's a little bit like Night Town, the Night Town section of Ulysses, James Joyce's Ulysses. And there you go. It would have sold maybe millions before people realized. Well, parents would buy it for their kids. It's a Hardy Boy book, right? And the thing I don't understand how the Stratemeyer Corporation published it. They must have just got some copy editor. A copy editor surely would have just blown the whistle on the guy, because the guy's making fun of Leslie McFarlane's making fun of the Hardy Boys. He's making fun of Aunt Gertrude, making fun of American ignorance and suspicion of this. Understand, this is in the 30s. Suspicion of foreigners and all that sort of stuff. It's stunningly good. So there you go. That's just a little recommendation.
So
Get
there.
hold of The Disappearing Floor and The Secret Warning, one or the other or both. It's
And
well
it's
worth
a
it.
short read, I guess, right?
They were
It's
a
going to
lot
take you
longer
less
than they
time
were.
than
Well, they were
reading
rewriting
Pet
them
Cemetery.
when I was a kid, right? So they went from roughly 210 to 220 pages to approximately 180 pages the most. And then when my nephew Joey Joe, he was Joey at that point in time, but Joe now. When he was reading books, my mom bought some for him, right? And but they're already going out of fashion. I think at that point in time they're getting around to 120, 130 pages.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you want to try to find the old ones so that you get
Oh, they would have been rewritten. Understand? Like they rewrote them starting maybe in the late 50s. So don't get one that was that has publication date after 1950 or something like that. Those two books would be one of the main reasons why they'd want to rewrite them. The other thing is they didn't want stuff with running cars with running boards on, junk like that. I don't know what the major influence on them to me. But those two books would have been. They must have discovered. They weren't
I'm
that
going to
stupid.
see if I can get those in the old editions through town.
No, that's a challenge. That is
Yeah.
a challenge.
Because I can't really recommend them if I can't get a hold of them. Because the whole
Exactly
point
right.
of this blog is to
It's
get you to use your public library
Yeah.
and order things in to read them.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to try to get a hold of them now.
there you go. It's going to be a big challenge
Yeah. Okay.
because libraries didn't used to carry party book. It was like it was. I don't know. It would be like carrying. It would be like having garbage on your shelves,
Yeah.
stuff like that. It was supposed to make kids bad readers.
But you know, as
my brother,
Canadians,
who
we
teaches,
should be supporting the work of this Canadian author.
well, he wasn't making much money out of it, but
No.
yeah, he was really mad about it. I think that might have been one of the reasons why he wrote these surrealistic takeoffs. They got them published as regular Hardy Book books, but my brother used to laugh, and he ended up teaching at York University. He's still doing that, and he teaches English literature. And he used to laugh at people saying comic books rotted kids' minds because he and I, big on the comic books, heavy duty on the comic books, didn't rot his mind. Maybe it did mine. I don't know. I'd have to let someone else pass judgment on that. I can guarantee it didn't rot his mind. Comic books are actually pretty good. So
Anyway.
they were probably better back then than they are now. But